Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to my podcast. If you're new here, this is the Hot Girls Learn Hockey podcast. My name is Sarah Craik. I'm your host. This is the show where we talk about all things hockey. We have fun. I explain things in a really dumbed down way about ice hockey, about different leagues, how it's played, etc., etc., etc. And then if you've been listening, hi, welcome back. It's really nice to see you again. This is the third episode. I'm very, very excited to be filming today, and there's a big reason for that. Well, there's a couple reasons. One, I like talking about hockey any chance I can get. And then two, we're going to talk about something really fun today. We're going to talk about the NHL. And more specifically, just going to go briefly over the different divisions in the NHL and the teams that are in them. And then kind of a little bit of a history lesson of the NHL as a whole, how, they have gained teams over the years, yada, 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 etc., etc. If you're new to my format, I look at my notes. If you're watching this, I look down a lot because I'm looking at my notes. Today they're in my notebook. Usually I look down at my notes on my iPad, but today they're on a notebook because I couldn't be bothered to type them out. But I look down because I like to have kind of a timeline of points that I want to make and talk about. It helps my brain not to wander, but my brain still likes to wander. So I will be going on little tangents every now and then. If you don't like it, I'm sorry that my show is just not for you. But thank you for stopping by anyway. Let's get our drinks and take a little drink. A little sip if you may, and I will. For those of you watching right now on YouTube, you're probably like, Sarah, where's the San Jose Sharks cup? And I see you, I feel you, I hear you. I just kind of felt like today, with what I chose to wear, it's kind of overkill, which for the benefit of my audio listeners, right now I am wearing a San Jose Sharks hat. I, as per usual, have my San Jose Sharks Sharky, more specifically, blanket. And then I also have my signed Sharks hat. Well, signed as in two players signed it. Sharks hat. And then my Happy Birthday Sharks puck, which I don't think you can even see. I think my mic arm covers it. But all this to say, feel like it's kind of overkill having all that and then also a Sharks cup. So we're taking a break. She does get washed every day, but she's on vacation right now. And so instead, I'm just sipping a Red Bull out of a pink Solo cup. So cheers. Love you. I need to chug this. I feel so tired right now. Yummy. Okay, so NHL. Like any other sport, you're going to have your different leagues in it, and those leagues are going to have different teams. And arguably, NHL is the top league for ice hockey. The teams in the league are the teams that little hockey players, when they're on the little pee-wee league teams, they dream about playing on an NHL team. They dream about being an NHL player if they're, wanting to play professionally. So the NHL is made up of 32 teams scattered across North America, more specifically the USA and Canada. And they're divided into 4 different divisions, just like with any other sport. There's going to be the Atlantic Division, the Metropolitan, the Central, and the Pacific. I'm going to go and just list the teams in each division. I'm not going to, in this episode at least, go into the history of each team. That I'd be sitting here for 5-6 hours. I am not about to do that. The USA and Canada Four Nations Championship is tonight. I am not missing that to film. Love you guys, but I'm not missing that to film. So I'll name off each division, the teams in it, but I'm not going to go into the history of each individual team, at least not in this episode. I will eventually dedicate in the future different episodes to the history of different teams and kind of where they started, and then how they've been doing recently. But that's not going to be for today. That's going to be for a future episode. So let's start off with the Atlantic Division. So in the Atlantic Division, we have the Detroit Red Wings, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers, Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Ottawa Senators. Cute. Love. Next, we have the Metropolitan Division, which are the New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, the Washington Capitals, the New York Rangers, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Love, 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 love. Next, we have the Central Division, which has the Dallas Stars, the St. Louis Blues, the Minnesota Wild, the Nashville Predators, the Winnipeg Jets, the Utah Hockey Club, and the Chicago Blackhawks. Oh, shit. I said that like that's the final team. They also have the Colorado Avalanche. I don't know why I just was like, okay, and Chicago Blackhawks. Yep, that's it. Fuck Colorado. No, don't fuck Colorado. They're a good team. So that is the Central Division. Last but not least, the Pacific, which has the Edmonton Oilers, the LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, the Vancouver Canucks, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Calgary Flames, the Seattle Kraken, and my team, the San Jose Sharks. Eek! Love! So those are the 4 divisions that the NHL is split up into. And off topic, but also kind of on topic, I was so, like, I get it why leagues put their teams in divisions. It makes more sense, and dwindling them down to the 2 that will play for their championship respectively. Oh god, I hate division. I don't know what it is about me not liking how there's divisions in leagues. Couldn't tell you why I don't like it. I think it's just because it's too much for me to remember like which division has which teams, which I'm working on that. I'm but a girl. And this is my first season following hockey. Okay, I'm not going to know everything all at once. That's literally why I have a podcast to talk about it, because it's forcing me to do research. So do not ask me, like, don't, not like anybody would, but like, don't come up to me or ask me, name all the teams in the Metropolitan Division. I'm going to be like, New York Rangers, which they are. But I'm not going to know every fucking team. Not yet, at least. I will know them eventually. Bear with me. All right. Side tangent over. Now let's go into a little bit of a history about the NHL. So I feel like no better place to start than with the original 6. What are the original 6, you may ask? Well, I'm so happy you asked that question because I'm about to talk about that to you. So the original 6 refers to the original 6 teams that the NHL started with. So in the 1942 to 43 season, we have the first 6 teams in the NHL, which funny enough, but also very interestingly, all these teams still exist. Like, isn't that crazy? I feel like that might be not like a rare occurrence. I just thought that was really cute. So the first 6 teams, lovingly known as the original 6, are the Boston Bruins, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Detroit Red Wings, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Rangers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Beautiful, beautiful teams. We love them. We love them. So this would kind of remain the consistent 6 teams for the next 20, 25 years. Some fun facts was that in 1948, we did see the first Asian NHL player. Her name was Larry Kwong, and he played for the New York Rangers. And then in 1958 was the first black NHL player. His name is Willie O'Ree, and he played for the Boston Bruins. So that's kind of cute and fun. You know, loved it. Love to see it. Now we're going to fast forward to like the mid 1960s. NHL doubled their teams. They expanded. So they doubled. So they went from 6 to 12. So they added 6 more teams. And before I read this list, there's going to be some teams in this list that you're like, I've never heard of them. 2, they were not in the list of teams that you read off from earlier, Sarah. I know. Just like with any sport, any league, whatever, over time things change. teams get traded, teams get new ownership, they change location, so on and so forth. So things will change. The teams I'm reading now, either, you know, some of them have changed to what they are now, or just don't exist anymore. And that's okay. I say that like I have to justify why they did this. I wasn't even alive when these teams were created. All this to say, if you hear me say a name and you're like, you didn't talk about that earlier, shut up. So they doubled for the 1967 to the 68 season. We expanded and we doubled the 12 teams. So now we have added on the LA Kings, the Minnesota North Stars, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the California Seals, and the St. Louis Blues. For my audio listeners, the one for the teams that like I did not list off in my original division, like in the actual 32 teams that are in the NHL right now, for each of those teams, I just gave like a look to the camera. Like, don't start with me. Do not start with me. All right. Now we've doubled to 12. Everything's fun, except the Canadians start getting a little pissy with the NHL. They're like, actually, why are there no Canadian teams in the NHL? Like, you have New York teams. Oh, that's fine. At least I think they have New York teams. Yeah, they have the Rangers. Also, side note, if I sound really sniffly or if I sniffle off camera, my allergies are kicking my ass. Oh my gosh. And I'm drooling. What? I'm falling apart at the seams, guys. Jeez Louise. Anyway, if you hear me sniffling, my allergies are kicking my ass. And I'm just trying to get through it. Anyway, and Canadians got pissy. They're like, where is the Canadian representation? I don't see it. And so NHL was like, okay, I see you, I feel you, I hear you. Let's add some teams. Which, funnily enough, they add 2 more teams. Only one of them is based in Canada. They add the Vancouver Canucks and the Buffalo Sabres. Vancouver is in Canada. We know that. Buffalo is in New York. It like is, I guess, on the Canadian-USA border, but it's not Canada. NHL was like, I see you. You can have one sweet treat. You can have one treat before dinner, and then that's it. And that treat is the Vancouver Canucks, which both of these teams do still exist, like as their original names. Now, those teams were added in 1970, and then in 1972, something starts heating up a little bit. That is when the WHA was founded. What is the WHA? Well, it's the World Hockey Association. And the girls were fighting at this point. The girls started fighting the WHA and the NHL because WHA kind of wanted to steal the NHL's spotlight. They wanted to be that bitch. And the way they did that was through buying or acquiring popular teams, popular players for those teams. It was messy. But when the WHA was founded, this led the NHL to kind of panic and snatch up 2 more teams before the WHA could snatch them up. And that would be the New York Islanders and the Atlanta Flames. And then in 1974, they also added 2 more teams. So this is going to be the Washington Capitals and the Kansas City Scouts. Every time I mention a team that like is not on that list, I'm just going to give a look to the camera. Like, don't fucking start with me. Don't start with me. Now, we are up to 18 teams in the league at this point. We're in 1974, if you didn't know. And all throughout this time, the WHA has like been poaching players. Poaching is not the right word. Poaching sounds way sinister. They're snatching up players from the NHL. Just alone in the 1972 to 73 season, the NHL lost at least 67 players to the WHA. Isn't that shit crazy? Shit's crazy. Now, It's 1979. Up until this point, like I said, the girls have been fighting. They've been fighting for years. And it's about time for them to stop. And so then in 1979, they finally worked it out on the remix and they decided on a merger agreement. And this would see the WHA ceasing operations. It's, you know, it's kind of human nature. There can really only be one on top. And the NHL was just that bitch. She was just that bitch. And once this merger agreement happened, which not a lot of people were happy about, but it, you know, too late to complain about it now. This is in the 70s. We're in 2025, folks. This got the NHL to absorb 4 more teams. So they absorbed the Winnipeg Jets, the Edmonton Oilers, the Hartford Whalers, and then I'm going to fuck up this name. I just know it for a fact. The Quebec Nordiques. Nordiques sounds Spanish when I say it. It's a French team, or it's a French word, I think. I don't know what it means. I took 2 years of French in high school. Do not know what that means. I just know how to say like my name is and also say I don't know. But they absorbed those 4 teams. And now I would like to welcome to the stage the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Wayne Gretzky. If you ask anybody who is just like aware of sports in general and you ask them to name one hockey player, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna name Wayne Gretzky. Because the thing about Wayne Gretzky, he is that bitch. He has been that bitch. He will always be that bitch in the most loving way. I say this as if he's gonna watch. I like not even gonna touch that. He is like, he's just the best. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time in hockey. And he's still killing it. Like, he's doing, like, I think it's for the credit card company Discover. He's not doing credit card commercials with Jennifer Coolidge. Jennifer Coolidge is doing credit card commercials for Discover, and one of them just happen, or like 1 or 2 of them happen to have Wayne Gretzky in them, and she's like, they're doing like a bit, and it's so cool to say that Jennifer Coolidge and Wayne Gretzky are in a Discover credit card commercial is such an insane sentence. It's actually really fucking funny. So he's still relevant. He's still alive too. I should say this. And I'm not going to go into his entire career because 1, I'm terrified of rabid hockey fans being in my comments being like, actually he didn't join that team in that year, he didn't do just I don't care. I'm not gonna go into Wayne Gretzky's whole entire career. I'll maybe do another episode if people want me to about him, like just his stats, just his journey throughout the league, what have you. Maybe in another episode, maybe whatever. I don't know. I'm like terrified to touch that because he is the greatest, and he's just like a precious gem in the NHL and in ice hockey. I don't want to say anything wrong, like spread misinformation or anything like that. So I'm not going to touch it on his entire career, but literally my notes say then Wayne Gretzky happened. So he played for the Indianapolis Racers, which was a WHA team, for 1 season, and then he went to Edmonton to play for the Oilers. He joined them for 72 games before they were before like the Oilers joined the NHL, and he played during the he also played during the, oh my gosh, I'm like lost in my notes. Where was I? Oh, yeah, he went to the Edmonton Oilers before they joined the NHL for the 1979 to 80 season. And he led the Oilers to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Stanley Cup championships, baby. Yeah. He's number 99, which is iconic. Love it. Oh my gosh. And then in 1988, he was traded to LA, and this improved the popularity to the NHL dramatically. Like, I just want to talk about, I literally had a whole point in my notes about just like Wayne Gretzky, because I feel like And you can argue to the wall about this or argue with the wall about this. I don't care. In my opinion, there were two key things that happened that I feel really skyrocketed ice hockey, as like more specifically just hockey in general in the public, skyrocketed their popularity to the fucking stars. And that was Wayne Gretzky's career in the 80s. And also in the 80s, the movie slash actual thing that happened called Miracle. I think it's called McMiracle on Ice. So people just call it Miracle, but it's about I think it was from the Winter Olympics, and it was the final championship game for that, the USA versus Russia. And this is in the 80s, so little quick history lesson. The girls were fighting in the 80s, the girls being Russia and the US. We were not on good terms with them. There was real threat of nuclear war. People were really scared of that. And so there was just a lot of animosity between the two countries. And when they were playing hockey against each other, USA powered through and they dominated the game. They won. And they became like really, really popular. Like that movie is just like amongst, I feel like any hockey player, like whatever, like they love that movie. They love that movie, love that team. Those men, a lot of them, I'm pretty sure all of them are still alive, if not most of them. I mean, this was only in the 80s. It wasn't, oh my gosh, 80s was like 40 years ago. Oh, time is crazy. Holy shit. Anyway, they're still really popular. It's still talked about today. It's just like that mixed with Wayne Gretzky in the 80s really skyrocketed the NHL and also just hockey in general's popularity. To be a hockey fan in the 80s, I wish I had a time machine so that I could go back and be a hockey fan in the 80s. I feel just like the vibes were immaculate. I fear that I would be a worse human being than I am right now, though, if I was a hockey fan in the 80s. I also wouldn't be the age I am now. But that's a whole other can of worms to open up about time travel, when that's not what this podcast is about. So now we're up to the 80s, and we're up to like kind of the turn of the century. So we're brushing through to the 80s, and then we're now in the 90s. And so by the time that the year 2000 had hit, we added 9 more teams to the NHL. So we added my babies, the San Jose Sharks. I believe they were added in either 91 or 92. Do not fact check me on that because I could be wrong. I'm so sorry. We also added the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Ottawa Senators, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Put a pin in that. I will circle back around to that. Trust me. We also got the Florida Panthers, the Nashville Predators, the Atlanta Thrashers, who then were absorbed and relocated and stuff, and are the Winnipeg Jets are now. The Minnesota Wild, and then the Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay. The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. I need to take a sip before I get into this because this is actually really fucking funny. So, don't ask me for years, don't ask me for dates, don't ask me for reasons, because I don't know. All I know is, in the 90s, there was a Disney film called The Mighty Ducks. Might have heard of it. It's a hockey movie. I couldn't tell you the plot of it for the life of me. I saw it maybe twice when I was little. I just know that it surrounds like a kid's hockey team and how they persevered and came out. Did they win in the game or in the movie? Did they win the championship game? If they didn't win the championship game, then they learned a lesson. And that's just like the genesis, the whole shtick of a Disney movie. It's like if you don't win, at least you learned a valuable lesson. And so that movie got really popular, and to be a fly on the wall in the conference room at Disney or at the Walt Disney Studios when this conversation was happening, they're like, hey, Anaheim doesn't have a hockey team. Would be a shame if someone started one. And that's how we got the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. They still exist. They are now just called the Anaheim Ducks. But it's crazy that they started off as like a tie-in team to the Mighty Ducks. It's just so funny. Ugh, love him. I love hockey, man. And, you know, kind of just bringing us up to speed right now. Different teams have renamed and such and everything. The 3 newest teams that were added in the last 10 years are the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Seattle Kraken, and then the Utah Hockey Club. Which, side note, dumb fucking name. Ugh. That's all I'm going to say on that topic, but just like, side note. So those are the three newest teams that we have so far. You know, I'm sure that there's always room for expansion. There's always room for more teams to join the league. They're at 32 now. They were going to be at 33 because I guess there was going to be like an Arizona team, but then that kind of got like fizzled out. And so now the NHL is staying at 32, at least for the time being. Yeah, it's February as I'm filming this. So we still have 2 months until the Stanley Cup. I'm very excited because that's going to be the first one that I'm actively going to be following. Our current Stanley Cup winners are the Florida Panthers with my favorite player, Matthew Tkachuk, on the team. I know I mention him, I feel like in every video. There's only been 3. But I feel like I mentioned him in every video, every episode that I've done so far, just because he's a great hockey player. But yeah, that's kind of a little brief history of the NHL, how they acquired, most of their teams, the different divisions, and which teams are in the divisions. It was very fun researching this one because I'm such a history buff. I like learning where we started to where we are now, and just kind of everything that happened in between there. Really, really, really interesting. Just to, see what we started with to what we have currently. And I hope that you found it interesting too. If you're a history buff like me, you probably did. And if you're not, I just hope that you, I don't know, enjoyed looking at my face, enjoyed listening to my voice for some reason. I'm gonna keep this video pretty short. I know last episode I said was gonna be really short too. This I feel like is gonna be really cut in half. I think this one will probably be 30 minutes-ish. Yeah, this is going to be a shorter episode. One, because I didn't really want to go into a huge, really in-depth history because I didn't want to bore anybody too much. I find it history fascinating. Does not mean everybody else does, and that's okay. And also, too, as I'm filming this, today is February 20th, 2025, and it is the USA versus Canada championship game for 4 nations. If you know, you know. I'm so excited. I'm having people over. My boyfriend and I are having people over to watch the game tonight. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I just think regardless of the outcome, I want Team USA to win, but regardless of the outcome, and by the time they upload this, it's going to be next week for me. So I will have already known who's won the game. I'm just excited to watch the game. I think it's going to be such a good fucking game. And I'm also excited to kind of test my friends a little bit while I'm watching, like, okay, what does that guy do? What does this mean? What's a power play? Oh, you know that? You have the answer, How'd you learn that? Oh my God, you learned that from my podcast? You're a true friend. So yeah, I'm very excited. So I have a lot to kind of set up for that. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Sorry it was a little short, but, short and sweet is the way to do it. Just like Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah. So, like, subscribe, comment on this video if you want. if you're on Spotify, make sure to give my show a rating if you're able to. I guess you can only give a rating if you've like watched one full episode. So if you've watched any of the other 2 episodes, give this one a rating. That would be lovely and very much appreciated. And yeah, I believe the next week's episode is going to be about the history of hockey in general, or ice hockey in general, and then also the history of hockey broadcasting and kind of how that's evolved. So it's gonna be another history video. If that's not your bread and butter, I'm so sorry. I will get back to just talking about hockey, like leagues and teams and stuff after that. I had like a whole list of episodes I wanted to kind of get like the show started with, and that's one of them. So that's gonna be next week's episode. And I hope to see you there. I hope you had so much fun. I know I did. And I will see you next week. I love you guys. Bye.